All right, the Republican cowboy from the eastern part of Colorado, State Representative Richard Holtorf joins us. He's also a candidate for Congressional District 4, and late yesterday evening called for the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party to resign. Dave Williams has used his position as chair to presumably hijack the state party for his own political campaigning and selfish outcomes, including using the state GOP email account, mailing list, and other GOP resources. I hope the Federal Election Commission is watching and takes a good look at his actions. Dave Williams should resign so a fair and impartial Republican primary campaign can take place. Representative Holtorf, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Bill, for the invitation.
So
we're in very tough times right now. There's a lot of things going on that aren't healthy for politics and aren't healthy for Colorado.
Yeah, let's dive into this. Is this a response to him and the state party endorsing Lauren Boebert for your seat, or is this a bigger issue in your mind?
Oh, this is a bigger issue. The endorsement that Dave Williams sent out on Monday was just what put me over the edge with the many antics and things that Dave is doing. You know, traditionally, we Republicans have said we want fair, impartial primaries. We don't want undue influence. We want to invite all Republicans to run and feel like everybody has an equal chance to become a candidate and also be elected to public office. So it starts with that. And arguably that we've been on a trajectory to go something in a very different direction than that with state party leadership over the last 6-8 months.
The response from the state party has been, during the assembly, we passed Resolution 10 that the Republican Party endorses and supports only those candidates in the primary election who have gone through the caucus and assembly process while subjecting their candidacy to a vote of their respective district assemblies. Their argument going, look, we laid this all out in front of the assembly on Saturday, and they voted to allow us to do that. What's your response to that?
Well, thank you for that very important point. And that's actually the primary reason for me doing what I've done. So let's talk about that, because procedure and mechanics matter. I was at state assembly. I was at district assembly. I participated in the caucus and assembly process. I received 15.5% of the delegate vote in the district assembly, and I'm now going to be on the ballot. So I've taken that journey. But what I witnessed at state assembly was very troubling. First of all, Dave, and Colorado Republicans, listen up. And I told Dave this on Saturday. I said, Dave, what are you doing? So we voted with a standing vote on 10 of these resolutions. Did you know, Colorado, did you know, Republicans, that we hadn't even done the final credentialing before the state chair called for that vote? Mechanics matter in elections. We talk about election integrity. Procedures matter. You can't call for a vote until all delegates have been 100% properly credentialed. That's called voter identification. That's the first problem. The next problem is we did a standing vote in that assembly of everybody who were delegates, who were alternates, who were guests, who were media, who was standing, who was sitting. That's another problem. Nobody knew because we hadn't fully credentialed all of the delegates. Dave Williams, the procedures and mechanics matter. Now, there are some good things. We had better ID checks than we do in an election in the state of Colorado because delegates, their voter identification and their credentials were checked, but it wasn't ratified and verified and announced before he started the vote because we were way behind on credentialing. It was 2:30. We were still doing it. And he started calling for votes. And not only that, the opt-out order vote he called for, and we still hadn't done the final credentialing. Now, here's another thing, Jeff, that really bothers me. When you're doing something on 10 resolutions, the chair of the state party should not be jiding, goading, or being sarcastic and giving sarcastic quips from the podium. I heard Dave Williams say on one resolution, when he said, call for the aye vote, everybody stand. Then he called for the no vote and said, Vote no if you dare. What does that mean? What does that mean to a delegate body? Well, I will tell you, there's real problems when we start talking like that. The arrogance of the chair was palpable, and it was troubling, sir.
So we're talking with Richard Holtorf, who called for the resignation of Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Why not just wait until that office is opened up? We're going into the primaries now, or the primaries and then the general election. This is playoff time for the sports team. If you don't like the head coach, is it best to swap him out at this point or wait and get to the next opening at that seat?
Here's the problem, Colorado. Here's the problem, Colorado Republicans. Dave Williams is creating very, very dangerous precedents for Colorado. And here's what I see as he tries to build this endorsement ticket. That he's even called it a slate of candidates that he's building. Should Republicans and Republican candidates have to kiss the ring of the GOP or the GOP chair? Should Republican candidates have to kiss the ring or bend the knee to a district executive committee or a county leadership? This is a very dangerous precedent. And I've watched Dave in the state capitol starting in 2020. I watched his toxic leadership, his divisive leadership. He's not a uniter, Colorado. He's a divider. And he's very selfish in his interests as he builds and looks and works towards a Trump-esque ticket in Colorado. Now we've got Boebert. Now we've got Williams. And that's not right. Colorado is its own state. Dave Williams is supposed to be working for the Colorado GOP and every Republican in this state. Not for Trump, not for Donald J. Trump's campaign. He's been working so hard to get this endorsement. He even passed resolutions saying, and worked towards and achieved resolutions that say, we're going to have Trump as a presumptive nominee and discount any other candidate. Once again, going back to the tradition.
Richard,
should we be fair, impartial, and allow and not have undue influence as a state party across the board? I say yes. That's the proper role of county assemblies, district assemblies, and the state assembly.
Richard Holtorf, I'll give you this. I'll grant you the idea that Dave Williams has definitely been on the nose about his endorsements as a chairman of the GOP in a way I've never seen before. But every Republican chairman I've known and worked with wanted to go to battle with the slate he or she wanted. While they may not be out there directly endorsing, they were actively working even behind the scenes to go, this is the team I want to go into the battle in November with. Why is what Dave Williams doing any different than that?
Well, it's very different. You described why it's different, sir. Because yes, people have their personal opinions and they have their preferred candidates, and that's okay. But when you are so open and blatant and arrogant in front of the entire state, in front of the entire state delegation, in a time when the Republican Party has many problems, you should be leading Dave from the front to unite this party, to build this party, to make sure everybody has a seat at the table. Here's another thing, Jeff, you might want to point out. Of a delegation of 752 or 3 delegates, we only had 550 some show up. We were 200 delegates short. Now, Colorado, that tells you something. Does that mean those people don't want to participate? Are they marginalized? Are they left out? Are they disenfranchised? Do they not like the leadership that's coming from the state party? Now, they brought in alternates, but there weren't enough alternates to fill all the vacancies. Dave, you might want to be looking at that statistic and do a little introspection and find out where's the rest of your party, because we need to rebuild. We need to retool. We need to bring everybody under that big tent that Ronald Reagan used to talk about. Not marginalized, disenfranchised, and then be quick, as he did on Monday, to say, oh, Boebert's the candidate. Well, she's got the Trump endorsement. Dave's got the Trump endorsement. Everybody's looking for the Trump endorsement. And Trump arguably was a great president. His policies are amazing. His mouth gets him in a lot of trouble. People say, well, Holtorf, you've got the same problem. Don't be a hypocrite. And maybe I do. But I'm going to call things out when they're wrong. And Dave has done too many things wrong. People are not wanting to stand up and say anything because they're weak at the knee. They shake and shiver, and they don't want to have to face the wrath of the mighty Dave Williams at the head of the GOP. Well, look at El Paso County and look at the mess that they have in El Paso County. El Paso County Republican Party is fractured, divided, and it is broken. It's a broken plate laying on the kitchen floor. Who's putting that back together? If they can't even get their own party right, Dave Williams, how can you step up and use the same type of leadership to bring it to the state? And that's what I see, guys. Bill, I want you to weigh in on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I only look at it from the Eastern Plains looking in.
Yeah, Jeff and Bill talking with Richard Holtorf. Richard's calling for the resignation of the Colorado GOP Party Chair Dave Williams. And what I'm really curious about, Richard, is we have lawsuits and we have things that are talking about open primaries, that the Republicans should be the ones to choose who is on the ballot. It is about the party making the choice, and the party's voice has to be respected, and we need to get all these other people out of there. Yet what I'm hearing from Dave Williams, at least in your perspective, is that Dave Williams is not looking to have the party make the choice. He's looking for the chair to make the choice. And that's the part that I have some cognitive dissonance with, is if we are really, really, truly married to that idea that the party should be voting and making the choice, why does it give us the appearance that the chair is putting their thumb on the scale?
Because he is. Sometimes when you smell smoke, there might be a fire. You might want to look around and find out where the smolder is coming from so you can put it out. Now, I am a big fan of a closed primary. Colorado Republicans understand it is the right thing for Republicans to elect Republicans. And pick a side of the fence you want to sit on or stand on. Don't sit on the fence. Get off the fence and get on the right side or the left side. I 100% believe that personally. Now, what needed to happen on Saturday, and I told Dave this, I said, Dave, what the hell were you doing? What were you thinking? You should have had a ballot, 100% ballot for the open or closed primary, the delegate body and credentialed voters. The procedure and mechanics matter. We talk about election integrity. We beat the drum on Maricopa County and how there's cheating. And I'm not inferring that people cheated. On Saturday, we had a very good balloting for the election that we had, which was for the Republican National Committee woman.
I do want to go back to that resolution, though. Resolution number 10, did that change the bylaws of the state party?
Well, I have it right here before me. And it says right here, and it starts out, whereas dark money groups, left-wing agitators, and rhino saboteurs, which is pretty inflammatory language, are trying to eliminate the caucus and assembly process through ballot initiatives. So it's really pushing back against ballot initiatives and also people that petition on pure petitioning candidates, legislation and open primaries, while encouraging candidates to bypass party delegates by paying the petition signatures and not submitting themselves to a vote of an assembly. All right, I get that. Go through assembly, answer to the Republicans, and don't just petition on and pay your way on. I'm the only candidate, by the way, that had a pure volunteer circulator and petition team, didn't pay one nickel for a petition. And oh, by the way, the Secretary of State just reached out to me and told me that I'm in very good shape with over 1,860 cheered signatures.
So are you officially on the ballot then? Have they made that announcement?
Well, well, you guys got the news first, but it's not official because the Secretary of State has to issue the certificate. But Colorado, Holtorf for Colorado, Holtorf4Colorado.com will be on the ballot in June. So you got it first. The certificate's coming out later today or tomorrow from the Secretary of State's office. But be advised that with respect to this, it further says, so people are paying to play. Every other candidate that petitioned on, and the other candidate, the other two candidates, by the way, there was 4 candidates at Assembly. Of course, Ted Harvey got boxed out by Douglas County, didn't get the 30% threshold that you needed as to go through Assembly. But the other 2, I won't mention their names, but you know who they are. They paid $10, $20, $30 a signature. So they're paying to play. I didn't do that. I didn't spend one plug nickel with my volunteer force of over 32 volunteers across this state. Now that's grassroots. But let's get back to this resolution. Colorado Republican Party endorses and supports only those candidates in the primary election who have gone through the caucus and assembly process while subjecting their candidacy to a vote of their respective district assemblies. All right. Why didn't Jay Williams say, we respect all these people that went through their district and the state assembly and their district assemblies and presented themselves to the state and interviewed in that process? Well, that would have been more than one name. Then it says, be it further resolved that county parties and any other district central committees are also allowed to endorse and support candidates. Whoa. Step on the brakes, Colorado.
Yeah, that's weird.
Wait a minute. Here's where I have a problem that have gone through the caucus while subjecting their candidacy to vote of their respective district assemblies. Okay, now you have to step on the brakes and say, wait a minute. So now counties and districts are going to be able to endorse and support candidates? That's never been done before. And then the state central committee and the state chair is going to have the same privilege? That's never been done before now. And they've been pushing this idea, and now they've done it. So are we kissing the ring? Are we bending the knee now as a candidate? Do you have to go to your county and say, Mother, may I please? I'm bending the knee. I'm prostrating myself to you.
And I understand, Richard, I understand the frustration, but didn't Republicans vote to support this?
Well, how did they vote? Let's pivot back to procedures and mechanics matter. Were you there at State Assembly? Oh, yes, you were.
I was, yeah.
Did you hear when the credentialing was called? Even at the end of the assembly, the State Assembly, the state chair said, oh, we have 135 or so delegates that didn't get proper credentials. Should we let them vote? Let's have a vote. Let's have a standing vote or a voice vote of that. Dave, what are you doing? You've grossly violated the procedures and tenets of election integrity and voting and bylaws. You can't do that. Let's just throw all the rules out the window. Let's have it mob rule. What are we doing here? Are we running a state party? Are we having credible, accurate, and verified elections that are going to stand the litmus test of possible judicial scrutiny? Here we are yesterday in the state capitol having a hearing on the impeachment of Jenna Griswold for undue influence in trying to block a candidate from running. Well, Colorado, aren't we doing the same thing, but just in a different fashion when we try to promote these type of resolutions?
Richard,
are we being fair, impartial? What are we doing? Jeff, tell me what we're doing.
Well, we're talking to you, Richard Holtorf, state rep and candidate for congressman in Congressional District 4. Who would be a good chairman of the state party?
Well, I tell you what, I'd be a hell of a lot better chair than we've got right now. And I've had about 25 people tell me. But I'm not running for that office. I'm running for Congressional District 4.
I've often said that the state party chair is the easiest to measure their success because they're like football coaches. You either win or you lose. If there's more Republicans in office, once you got there and you did the work, then the people will keep you around. If there's not enough, or if there's not more Republicans, we've lost seats, then people should hold you accountable. Isn't that where we should ultimately land with Dave Williams at the end of this? When the next time he's up, if there's more Republicans in office, then, we may not have liked Dave's processes. We may not have liked the people that necessarily won, but he got more Republicans in. I'm just gaming this out. Let's say in November, Dave delivers more Republicans into office. Should he be kept around?
Well, I think the measure is more than just a scoreboard. But arguably, we've been losing in Colorado.
Yeah,
we've been losing in Colorado, and a lot of that has been how we've run our state party. You know the old saying, well, state party isn't going to get you elected. As a candidate, I've heard that for many, many years. Isn't that a sad testament? As a candidate, when you come up and people on the street, and when you go to candidate seminars and you talk to your consultants, they say, state party's not going to get you elected because they don't have their stuff together. So that's a testament to something that says, state party's not getting it done. You're pretty much on your own with your own campaign and your own campaign team. And there's a lot of truth to that. So you can't just look at the scoreboard and say, yep, keep him around. I think integrity, I think honesty, I think transparency, I think good leadership. I think honest and fair leadership is important. But yes, the scoreboard does matter. Now, Dave is riding this Trump train. 2016, we had a hell of a Trump train. And I'm a Trump supporter. Okay. I've got Trump signs all over my pastures out there in eastern Colorado, on my cattle wagons that I've hauled cattle with. And I like everything that Trump has done. But let me tell you something, Colorado is not a Trump state. Dave Williams in Colorado, you might want to think about that as we want to try to pedal the Trump train all the way to the top of Pikes Peak.
That's a good point.
Colorado is a different state. We have to measure Colorado for what Colorado is and work towards addressing the issues of Colorado with the delegate and the electorate, including, by the way, 50-some% unaffiliated. So don't marginalize and box out these other people because you want to get the Trump slate. Because the Trump slate may not be the winning ticket in Colorado. Who has had those strategic conversations, folks?
Yeah, and
I'm having them right now on the air.
Richard Holtorf joining Jeff and Bill. Richard has called for the removal of Dave Williams from the Colorado GOP party chair. I want to follow up on that scoreboard conversation a little bit and kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate. And the idea being, the scoreboard, that's more than just the scoreboard matters. But if you've got a team that is running into the playoffs and the coach, do you change them running into the playoffs? What I'm looking for is there more danger of upheaval and chaos by replacing Dave Williams than the positives of getting someone in that will be more, I'd say nonpartisan. That's the wrong word for it, but be more of just a fair coach and a fair referee. I was going
to say fair and balanced.
There we go. Yeah, but that's a Fox thing. So I think we have to pay some money to them. So is there any danger of changing the coach now? Could it, in theory, possibly create more chaos than solving the chaos?
Well, gentlemen, here is the issue. Colorado in this 2024 election cycle, if you haven't noticed, is already in chaos.
You don't say.
Okay. We are in a very, very shaken, not stirred situation here. Now, that's caused by many, many variables. The Democrats have a play in this because, they're oppo and they're behind the scenes doing everything they can. Once again, going back to why we need to have a closed primary and Republicans need to be electing Republicans in the primary. I 100% believe that. Now what's going to happen is, based on the direction we're going, we're going to have to, Colorado Republicans are going to have to set conditions and change the way we do things for 2026 that allows for everybody only to go through the assembly process, it looks like. And then only Republicans will be voting in the Republican primary in June of 2026. I argue that's a good thing. That's Bonniwell amendment. That's Mr. Bonniwell's theory, and it's shared and embraced by many, many Republicans. How we get to that place, we're taking that journey right now. But for me in 2024, I do not like the precedents, and I'm calling Dave out because no one else will. You know how many people have been grumbling and saying things to me? Dozens of people are shaking their head and saying, what is going on? But you know what? There's one Colorado cowboy. There's one Eastern Colorado statesman who's going to stand up. I'm not an establishment guy. I'm an anti-establishment guy because I have watched the establishment and the old guard, help us lose for the last 15 or 20 years. So we do need changes. We need a new, fresh look. This probably should have happened last fall, but nobody had the backbone to stand up and say, time out, Dave. We've had people that have stepped down from the state executive committee in protest. I've had people on the state executive committee say, Dave doesn't listen. It's Dave's way or the highway, and he will bully or shame you if you don't get in line with him. Well, isn't that what the Democrats do? I've watched that for half a decade up here. Shame, bully, coerce. And oh, by the way, Colorado, they change the rules when they don't like them to make them fit themselves and their own objectives and aims. Well, that's where I throw down that red flag. And I've thrown it down. Irregardless of anything, Dave, I'm putting you on notice. You need to straighten up, and you need to get in line and be a leader for all the Republicans in Colorado. Get off this power pulpit. This isn't a papacy, guys. We don't all go kiss the ring and bend the knee and genuflect in front of State Party or Dave, because that's where I see us going.
Richard
It is a
Holtorf,
very bad direction.
state rep, Republican state rep from the Eastern Plains, also candidate for Congressional District 4.
Yeah, maybe
Richard,
next time
I
when Richard
appreciate
comes
you
on,
being
he'll tell us
on.
how he really feels.
Yeah, right. We've got
He holds back all the time. I
Dave
don't
Williams
know.
is going to respond on Friday. He'll be on the program on Friday to give us a response.
Yeah,
so,
sure he says.
Richard, thanks for being straightforward.
Thanks, my
Thanks
friend.
for being direct. Thanks for taking all of our questions. We appreciate you being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Well, if you want a straight shooter, walk straight, talk straight, spit straight, shoot straight, you're talking to the guy that does that every time. I can't say that about everybody else. A lot of people don't want to say what needs to be said. They whisper, they talk behind closed doors. But, Colorado needs to know I'm exposing so many things, and I'm going to continue on this campaign trail because sunlight is the best disinfectant, transparency in everything and all things, and plurality and impartiality and fairness is so important in our political process.
I
And I
appreciate
know
it. Thank
There's
you.
been dirty pool being played in all kinds of places for a long time.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
Jeff and Bill, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 710, KNUS.